So first of all, I'm just going to quickly read this note that ties into my research and kind of sets the scene for what was happening as well. So this note was recently discovered in a stack of old papers in a Tunisian-owned cafe in Paris, and it would have been secretly read out and passed among the Muslim community at the time. So it reads, "Yesterday at dawn, the Jews of Paris were arrested, the elderly, the women, and the children, in exile like ourselves, workers like ourselves. They are our brothers, their children are like our own children. Anyone who encounters one of his children must give that child shelter and protection for as long as misfortune or sorrow lasts. O man of my country, your heart is generous." And then I'm going to turn to page 188. So I've tried to choose a reading that doesn't have any spoilers. And so, yeah, we're at a point where the Nazis have been very, very suspicious of Sofia's father and the leader of the mosque, and they're constantly arresting them and trying to find out what's going on because they know something is up. It was late now, but she felt no tiredness. Sofia was sitting outside the closed living room door. She had been sent to bed after dinner so the adults could speak in private. Of course, she hadn't gone. Her joints ached from crouching in one spot, being careful not to move and let the floorboards creak. She overheard Baba say that the question was, how on earth could they now get papers to those who needed them? She fidgeted with the tassels on the hallway carpet agitatedly as she waited for the adults to finish and get back up. When she had movement, she ducked back into her bedroom, and once Ammul Qadir and Ammul Imam had left, she caught Baba. Before he could even ask her why she wasn't asleep, she launched into her proposal. She'd rehearsed it 6 times while crouching in the hallway and felt confident it was as persuasive as possible. Baba listened intently, shaking his head vigorously as soon as he realized what she was suggesting. She ignored him and continued with her speech. She knew she'd struck a chord with him when she said there was no alternative. They couldn't just let innocent Jews suffer when they had the power to help them. Baba looked away, clenching his jaw so tightly that his cheek rippled. When she finished, there was silence. "Sofia, I've heard what you have to say," Baba said, "and I appreciate your concern and courage. Let me think about it. We'll talk in the morning. You really must go to sleep now." As she settled into bed and pulled her blanket over her, Sofia knew somewhere deep inside her that things were about to change. She'd sensed from Baba's reaction that he knew he had no other choice but to allow her to help now. Her whole body prickled as she was filled with nerves, anticipation, and a touch of excitement to finally be able to do something. Sofia's first formal resistance mission took place a week later. School was back on again after the summer holidays, which had been the strangest ones in Sofia's life. She wished she had someone to share everything with, a friend she could confide in. Of course, she couldn't write anything down to tell Isabel, and telling anyone else was far too risky. She'd actually started keeping a distance from Hafsa on purpose because of her big mouth. That was a dangerous trait in a time like this. This morning, Sofia's thoughts were far away from the usual back-to-school nerves and excitement. She couldn't care less about not having new pens and pencils to swap with her friends. Instead, she was silently reciting prayers for safe passage while mapping out the routes that she'd need to take for the 1,000th time. She left the mosque 3/4 of an hour earlier than she normally would to get to school, and as she stepped onto the street, fought the anxiety that everyone who passed her was staring at her accusingly. Timotei had visited the mosque the day before for a briefing by Baba, and after the surreal meeting, he'd given Sofia advice on not raising suspicions or getting caught. She ran through it now in her mind as she walked. If she kept her eyes on the ground too much or looked about her shiftily, other people might sense something. She must act nonchalant and confident as if absolutely nothing was amiss. Avoid eye contact with anyone, but look around as she normally would. Keep her body language natural and at ease, as if she truly were just on her way to school. Try to blend into crowds and groups of people. And if she did find herself alone, she should walk close to building walls, sticking to the shadows. If she kept her face turned towards the bricks, there was less chance of a spy or investigator snapping a clear photograph of her. She arrived at the tailor's shop quicker than she'd anticipated. She must have been walking faster than normal. Sofia made a mental note to consciously slow down for the next leg of her journey. Her stomach turned over and over as she pushed open the heavy glass door. Apart from the red-haired lady behind the till, the shop was empty. The shelves were chaotically laden with colourful spools of thread, pincushions, and long rolls of wool, felt, and cotton fabrics. She walked nervously over to the woman, who was eyeing her sternly. "Oui? How can I help you?" Sofia's trembling hands made it hard to unbuckle her school bag. My mother sent me to give you this skirt. She would like it to be hemmed by 2 inches, please." Sofia handed over the emerald green skirt to the woman, feeling the folded piece of paper that Yemma had stitched into its lining crunch between her fingers. Sofia had no idea what it said, but she knew it was an urgent message for the owner of the shop. Baba had told her to say the 2 sentences to the lady, and on having handed the skirt over, leave immediately. The woman said nothing as she folded the skirt and tucked it into a drawer beneath her desk. Sofia felt terribly awkward walking out just like that, but she did as she was told and was grateful to be back in fresh air again. Phew, first part completed.